The HR director's voice was professional, detached. "Miss Reeves, we're placing you on immediate administrative leave pending investigation of serious harassment allegations." I stared at the email on my screen, reading it 3 times before the words made sense. "What allegations?" "Your cousin Jennifer Moss filed a formal complaint this morning. She's provided substantial documentation of threatening communications spanning the last 4 months. We take workplace harassment extremely seriously. Jennifer and I barely speak. We're not even on the same floor. You'll receive a formal letter outlining the investigation process. Please collect your personal items and exit the building within the hour. Your badge access has been deactivated." The line went dead. I sat frozen at my desk, the desk I'd occupied for 6 years. In the financial analytics department I'd helped build from 3 people to 20. My computer screen went black. "Badge deactivated." Just like that, the security guard escorted me out like a criminal. Colleagues stared from their cubicles, already whispering. By the time I reached the parking garage, my phone was flooding with texts. "What happened? Are you okay? Jennifer's telling people you've been harassing her." I drove home in a daze and opened my laptop. The formal HR letter was waiting. "Notice of administrative leave. Employee Jennifer Moss has filed a harassment complaint alleging unwanted contact, threatening communications and hostile behavior. Supporting documentation includes 47 threatening text messages, 23 hostile emails, documentation of unwanted workplace contact, witness statements. The investigation will take approximately 4 to 6 weeks. You are prohibited from contacting Ms. Moss or any witnesses during this period." Attached were screenshots, text messages from my phone number, filled with vicious threats. "You don't belong here. Watch your back. I'll make sure everyone knows what you really are. Your career is over." Emails from my work account. "Even worse, you're pathetic. Everyone laughs at you. I'm coming for your job and there's nothing you can do about it." I'd never sent any of them, but they looked real. My number, my email, timestamps across months. Anyone looking at these would believe I'd done it. Jennifer and I had never been close. She was my mother's sister's daughter. We saw each other at Christmas, maybe a funeral. When she got hired in marketing 3 years ago, I'd helped her navigate the company culture, introduced her to people. Then she got competitive. She wanted my projects, my clients, my office. When I made senior analyst last year, she stopped speaking to me entirely. I figured it was just professional jealousy, nothing serious. I was wrong. The next morning, I called an employment attorney. David Chen's office was downtown, glass walls overlooking the financial district. "They suspended you based on screenshots?" he asked, reviewing the HR letter. "They look legitimate. My phone number, my email address. Can you prove you didn't send them?" "How do you prove a negative?" He leaned back. "Actually, you don't. We go on offense. These messages were sent over carrier networks and company servers. That means records exist. Real records, not screenshots. We subpoena the phone company and your employer's IT department. Get the actual data. That'll take months. No, emergency subpoenas for employment cases can be expedited. If you're innocent, those records will prove it definitively." He paused. "But if there's anything you're not telling me?" "There's nothing. I didn't send those messages." "Then let's get the proof." The subpoenas went out that afternoon. Phone carrier records for my number, server logs from the company email system, metadata for every message Jennifer had submitted as evidence. "This will take 2 weeks, David said. Maybe less. Phone companies keep everything. Timestamps, tower data, GPS coordinates if location services are enabled. If someone spoofed your number, we'll see it." "What about the emails?" "Email headers don't lie. We'll see exactly which device sent them, from which IP address, at what time. If they came from your work computer, we'll see you logged in. If they didn't," he smiled slightly, "then we know someone's lying." Jennifer was everywhere. Her Instagram showed her at my favorite coffee shop, my gym, outside my apartment building. I started screenshotting everything, noting dates and times. Monday morning, 6:47 a.m. She posted from the Starbucks, where I got coffee before work. Wednesday evening, 8:23 p.m. She checked into the yoga studio I'd been attending for years. She'd never mentioned yoga before. Thursday I saw her car parked across from my building, just sitting there. When I came out Friday morning, she was at the corner, looking at her phone. I called David. "She's following me. Document everything. Photos, timestamps, locations. If this goes where I think it's going, we'll need it. The phone records arrived first. David called me into his office, his expression unreadable. He spread printouts across the conference table. Hundreds of pages of carrier data. Your phone number sent 47 text messages to Jennifer's number, over 4 months, he said. Dates and times match her screenshots exactly. My stomach dropped, but here's the interesting part. He pulled out another stack. Those same messages were also sent from 3 other numbers during the same time periods. He highlighted the numbers. Burner phones, prepaid, purchased with cash, no names attached. I don't understand. Someone sent Jennifer those threatening texts from burner phones, then spoofed your number to make it look like they came from you. But they got sloppy. They sent duplicates. The phone company logged all of them. He spread out another document. And here's the GPS data from those burner phones. The map showed dots clustered around addresses. I recognized Jennifer's apartment, Jennifer's gym, the coffee shop near her house. These burner phones didn't leave Jennifer's side, David said. Whoever used them was within 50 feet of her phone, 97% of the time. She sent them to herself. Yes, 843 messages total. Across 4 phones, she'd text herself from the burners, then screenshot messages that appeared to come from your spoofed number. The email analysis was even more damning. The IT department's server logs showed 23 emails apparently, from my address to Jennifer's, but the IP addresses didn't match my work computer. They matched the guest Wi-Fi network, the one anyone in the building could access without logging in. The metadata showed they'd been sent from a personal laptop. MAC address registered to a device purchased by Jennifer Moss. She'd used her own laptop, spoofed my email address, and sent herself threatening messages, while sitting in the company lobby. She planned this, I said, staring at the evidence, very carefully, but she didn't understand technology as well as she thought. David pulled up another file. Your company's badge access logs. Every time she sent herself an email, she'd badged into the building minutes before. The security cameras will show her in the lobby. David drafted a letter to HR, attaching the phone records, server logs and GPS data. But he didn't stop there. This isn't just a workplace dispute anymore, he said. She committed fraud, harassment, and stalking. This is criminal. He sent copies to 12 recipients. Company HR director, company general counsel, company's outside employment law firm, district attorney's fraud, division district attorney's cybercrime unit, my employment attorney himself, my litigation attorney for the civil suit, Jennifer's HR file, formal complaint, State Bar Association, ethical violations in legal workplace, Federal Trade Commission, telecommunications, default come forward, she Cherney sent to Ed, she Cherney sent, she Cherney cybercrime, fraud phone carriers, fraud department, company's insurance carrier, liability notification. Why insurance? I asked. Because your company suspended an innocent employee based on fabricated evidence. When you sue for wrongful suspension, defamation, and emotional distress, their insurance company will be paying. They need to know now. The response was immediate. The company's general counsel called David, within an hour. We're terminating Miss Moss effective immediately, and reinstating your client. We'd like to discuss settlement terms. Your client will hear from us regarding damages. David replied calmly. My client suffered significant emotional distress, reputational harm, and loss of income due to your inadequate investigation procedures. The district attorney's office called next. We're opening a criminal investigation into Jennifer Moss for wire fraud, stalking, filing a false police report, and identity theft. We'll need Miss Reeves to provide a full statement. Jennifer's attorney, she'd hired one fast, called David's office 6 times in one afternoon. David didn't pick up. The news spread through the company like wildfire. I wasn't there to see it, but my former colleagues sent updates. Jennifer's office cleared out by security. HR sent a company-wide email about misuse of harassment reporting procedures. The CFO personally called me to apologize. 2 weeks later, I sat in a deposition room watching Jennifer across the table. Her attorney had advised against it, but the criminal investigation required her statement. She looked smaller than I remembered. Her hands shook as she signed forms. Why? I asked. The question wasn't part of any script. She didn't look up. You had everything. The promotion, the office, the respect. I worked just as hard, harder, but you got it all. So you tried to destroy my career. I thought. She finally met my eyes. I thought if you were gone they'd see me. Really see me. You bought 4 phones. You sent yourself 800 threatening texts. You followed me for months. My voice was steady, cold. You didn't want them to see you. You wanted to become me. Her attorney touched her arm. Don't answer that. But Jennifer kept talking. I watched you. Your routine. Your favorite places. Your schedule. I learned everything. I thought if I could show them you were unstable, dangerous, they'd give me your position. I'd finally get what I deserved. You're right, I said quietly. You are getting what you deserve. The criminal charges came first. 3 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of stalking, 1 count of filing a false report, 1 count of identity theft. The civil suit followed. Wrongful accusation, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and invasion of privacy. The company settled with me for $340,000, and a formal letter of apology that went in my personnel file. They offered me Jennifer's position in marketing, more money, better title. I declined. I didn't want anything she'd touched. Jennifer pleaded guilty to avoid trial. The judge gave her 18 months in county jail, 3 years probation, and a $50,000 fine. She'd also have to pay restitution for my legal fees, another $87,000. Her attorney tried to argue diminished capacity, obsession disorder, mental health crisis. The prosecutor held up the phone records. Your client purchased 4 phones, created an elaborate spoofing system, documented her stalking with GPS precision, and executed a months-long fraud campaign. This wasn't mental illness. This was premeditated identity theft. The judge agreed. I went back to work 6 weeks after the suspension. My colleagues were awkward at first, not sure what to say, but the company had sent the full exoneration email, including a summary of the phone records evidence. Nobody looked at me like a harasser anymore. Jennifer's marketing team got absorbed into other departments. Her office stayed empty for months. Nobody wanted it. I still check my surroundings sometimes. Still screenshot strange social media activity. The therapist says that's normal, that it'll fade. The burner phone records are stored in a fireproof safe in my apartment, all 847 pages of them, evidence that the truth exists, even when it's buried in metadata and server logs and GPS coordinates. David framed the subpoena, the one that requested phone records for my number. It hangs in his office now, next to a small plaque. Technology doesn't lie. He's right. Jennifer created a digital paper trail of her own obsession. Every text, every spoofed email, every GPS ping. She documented her own crime while trying to frame me for it. The phone company records proved I was innocent. The same records proved exactly what she was. The retirement community pool deck was crowded that Sunday afternoon. My father stood 3 feet away, his face red with anger, jabbing his finger at my chest, while my sister and brother-in-law pretended to read magazines on the loungers behind him. You think you can tell me how to spend my money? Dad's voice carried across the water. I raised you. I paid for everything. And now you're lecturing me about gambling? I kept my voice low, aware of the other residents watching. Dad, you've lost $40,000 in 3 months. The facility director called me because your account is overdrawn. They're threatening eviction. Lies. He stepped closer. You just want control. You've always wanted to control everything. My sister Emma finally looked up from her magazine. Dad's right. You're being dramatic. He's an adult. He hasn't paid his rent here in 2 months. I said, turning to her. Where do you think he'll go when they kick him out? She shrugged. That's your problem. You're the oldest. You handle it. This was the pattern. Dad created chaos. Emma enabled it. And I was expected to fix everything while being blamed for caring. I'd been dealing with this dynamic for 43 years. I'm not giving you power of attorney over my finances, Dad said. I'll spend my money however I want. It's not about control. It's about making sure you have a place to live. I could feel my exhaustion showing. I'd driven 2 hours after working a 12-hour shift. The casino. Don't you dare judge me. His hand shot out and shoved my shoulder. I stumbled backward. My heel caught the pool edge. The water was closer than I thought. I went in sideways, hitting the surface hard. The impact knocked the air from my lungs. Water rushed into my nose, my mouth. I kicked instinctively, but I'd never learned to swim. My father had refused to pay for lessons when I was young, calling them unnecessary. Panic flooded my system. I clawed upward, but I didn't know which way was up. My clothes were heavy. My lungs burned. Through the distorted water I could see shapes above. People standing. No one jumping in. My vision started to gray at the edges. Then hands grabbed me. Strong arms hooked under my shoulders. I broke the surface, gasping, coughing water. The lifeguard, a young man maybe 25, dragged me to the pool edge. "I've got you. Don't fight me. I've got you." Other staff members helped pull me out. I collapsed on the concrete, vomiting chlorinated water, my body shaking violently. "Call 911, someone said. "I'm fine." I managed, but I wasn't. My chest felt crushed. Everything hurt. The lifeguard knelt beside me. "You were under for almost a minute. You need to go to the hospital." I looked up at the deck. My father stood exactly where he'd been, arms crossed. Emma was on her phone. Neither had moved to help. He pushed her, an elderly woman's voice said. "I saw the whole thing." He pushed her right in. "It was an accident," Dad said loudly. "She slipped." "That's not what happened." The woman stepped forward. "I'm Margaret Chen. I live in Building C." That man deliberately shoved his daughter into the pool. The facility director arrived, running across the deck. Diana Morrison had been managing Riverside Senior Living for 15 years. I'd met with her twice in the past month about Dad's unpaid bills. "What happened?" She looked at me, then at the lifeguard. "Patient was pushed into the pool by that resident," the lifeguard said, pointing at my father. "She couldn't swim. Was underwater approximately 50 seconds before I could reach her. She lost consciousness briefly during extraction." Diana's expression hardened. "Security footage will show everything. Marcus, save that file immediately." The security guard nodded, speaking into his radio. Paramedics arrived. They insisted on taking me to the hospital despite my protests. As they loaded me into the ambulance, I heard Diana speaking to my father. "Mr. Peterson, we need to talk in my office. Now." The hospital kept me for 6 hours. Mild concussion from hitting the water. Possible aspiration pneumonia from the water in my lungs. Severe bruising on my shoulder where Dad had shoved me. They wanted to keep me overnight for observation. I was lying in the ER bay when my phone rang. "Diana Morrison, how are you feeling?" Her voice was professional but concerned. "Like I drowned." I tried to laugh. "It hurt. I need to inform you of the steps we're taking. First, your father has been issued an immediate restraining order prohibiting contact with you. Second, I've filed a mandatory incident report with Adult Protective Services." Adult Protective Services. I was confused. "I'm 43. The report covers both you and your father. There are protocols when family violence occurs on our property regardless of the victim's age. Additionally, given the severity, attempted drowning, family members failing to render aid." I forwarded the security footage to the county prosecutor's office. My head was spinning. "I don't want to press charges." "You don't have to. The state can prosecute based on witness testimony and video evidence alone. What happened today was felony assault. You nearly died while your family watched." I closed my eyes. "He's my father. I understand. But I have a responsibility to the safety of everyone in this facility. Your father will be evicted within 30 days. His behavior has escalated dangerously." After she hung up, Emma called. "What the hell did you do?" She was furious. "Dad just got served with eviction papers. They're saying he assaulted you." "He did assault me, Emma. You watched it happen. You're being dramatic. It was an accident. I couldn't breathe. I was unconscious. You didn't even stand up. Because I knew you'd be fine. You're always fine. But now Dad has nowhere to go. And it's your fault. He pushed me into a pool knowing I can't swim. That's attempted murder. Don't be ridiculous." She hung up. 3 days later I received a call from Detective Sarah Okonkwo with the county prosecutor's Elder Abuse Unit. "Miss Peterson, I'm calling about the incident at Riverside Senior Living. We've reviewed the security footage and witness statements. We're pursuing charges against your father. I really don't want. I understand this is difficult. But we have 6 witnesses who saw your father deliberately push you into the pool. We have footage showing you unconscious in the water while your family failed to render aid. We have medical records showing significant injuries. This isn't a case where victim cooperation is required." She paused. "I should also tell you that during our investigation we discovered something unusual." My stomach tightened. "What?" "Your father has been telling staff and residents that you're stealing from him, that you're trying to take his money." Several people reported these statements. However, when we examined the facility's ownership records, I knew where this was going. "You're listed as the primary investor in Riverside Senior Living. According to corporate filings, you own 38% of the company. You've owned it for 6 years." Silence stretched between us. "Miss Peterson, did your father know this?" "No." My voice was barely a whisper. "I invested anonymously through a trust. The facility director knows, but no one else." "Why?" "Because my father would have accused me of spying on him, of controlling him. He's been angry since Mom died, and I suggested he move somewhere with support. He insisted on Riverside because it was the fancy place, but he's never been able to afford it without help." "Who's been paying his bills?" "I have. Through the trust. He thinks his Social Security and pension cover everything. They don't. They cover about 40%. Detective Okonkwo was quiet for a moment. "So you've been subsidizing his living expenses, and he attacked you while accusing you of stealing from him?" "Yes." "That changes the dynamics significantly. The prosecutor will want to know this." The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. I didn't attend. My attorney went on my behalf and called me afterward. "Your father's been charged with felony assault and reckless endangerment." The judge set bail at $50,000. "Did he post it?" "His daughter tried. Emma Peterson. But there's a complication." My attorney's voice held something like satisfaction. "The prosecutor informed the court about your ownership stake in Riverside Senior Living, and about the 6 years of financial support you provided your father. And the judge wants a full accounting. Your father's been claiming elder financial abuse that you're stealing from him. But the records show the opposite. You've paid approximately $400,000 in facility fees, medical expenses and living costs that your father couldn't afford." 400,000. Seeing the number stated so plainly made my chest tight. "The prosecutor is amending the charges. Your father's accusations of theft, made to facility staff and other residents, while you were actually supporting him financially, constitute fraud and defamation. They're also investigating whether his gambling debts created a financial motive for the assault." "What does that mean?" "They think he was hoping you'd die so he could inherit from you. He's been telling people you're wealthy but you won't help him. He didn't realize the help was already happening." I went back to Riverside 2 weeks after the incident. Diana met me in her office. "How are you recovering?" "Physically, I'm okay. The rest," I shrugged. "I need to talk about my father's eviction. He has until the end of the month. Can we extend it?" 60 days. Diana looked surprised. "After what he did? He's still my father, and he has nowhere to go. Emma won't take him. My brother lives in Alaska and hasn't spoken to Dad in 10 years. I can't just let him be homeless." "You have no obligation." "I know. But I can't be the person who abandons him. Even after this, can we find him a smaller unit? Something he can actually afford on his fixed income?" Diana studied me for a long moment. "There's a studio apartment in Building A. It's one of our subsidized units for low-income residents. Basic but clean. The rent would be $1,500 a month. He can cover that with his Social Security." "Are you sure about this, after everything?" I thought about the water closing over my head, the weight in my lungs, my family watching me drown. "I'm sure I can't enable him anymore. No more secret payments. No more covering his debts. He gets the subsidized apartment and his pension. What he does with it is his choice. And if he can't manage, then that's his consequence to face. But I won't be the one who makes him homeless." Diana nodded slowly. "I'll draw up the new lease. Month to month only. Any violation and he's out immediately. And the restraining order stays in place." "Thank you." The criminal trial was set for 4 months out. My father took a plea deal. 2 years probation, mandatory anger management and restitution for my medical bills. The restitution was symbolic. He had no money to pay it. but it was on record. Emma stopped speaking to me entirely. She blamed me for Dad's legal troubles, for his humiliation, for everything. My brother called once, briefly to say he wasn't surprised. The lifeguard Marcus checked on me twice. He'd been worried. I thanked him for saving my life. He said it was his job, but I could tell the incident had affected him too. 6 weeks after everything happened, I drove back to Riverside. I didn't go inside. I just sat in the parking lot, watching residents come and go. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Margaret Chen, the lady who witnessed the pool incident. I wanted you to know many of us are very glad you're okay. Your father moved to Building A last week. We're keeping an eye on things." I replied, "Thank you, that means more than you know." I started the car and drove home. The water nightmares were getting better. The fear was fading. What remained was something harder to name. A kind of grief for the family I'd wanted but never had. And underneath it, surprisingly, was relief. I'd spent 6 years secretly supporting my father, hoping it would make him less angry, less bitter, less cruel. It hadn't. The money hadn't fixed anything because the problem was never about money. The pool had taught me something my father never intended. I didn't have to drown, trying to save someone who'd push me under. I could finally let go.